I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. And we're spotlighting County Commissioner Stacy White today, Hillsborough County Commissioner, District 4. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Bill. It's great to be back.
Well, I think I had you during your first term, but you've been there for a while now.
Yes, I think the last time I was with you was about midway through my 4-year term. And
we got to get you back more often.
I know I need to make sure that I'm here at least annually. I've got to do a better job of that. But
well, I'll keep the door open.
Well, thank you. And I am wrapping up that 4-year term, and I am asking the people for a re-election bid. I would be honored and humbled to serve the people of District 4 for another 4 years.
You know, it's interesting that when we get all this literature and things through the mail, I dump it. I don't even look at it. But the first time that I didn't meet you, but I heard about you, was your mother-in-law coming to the door.
Yes, sir. We ran a strong grassroots campaign back in 2014, and we knocked on a lot of doors all throughout the district, and certainly my wife, my mother-in-law, and even my kids to some degree were a tremendous help in that effort. And I do recall my mother-in-law working Sun City Center for me pretty hard. So.
And not only that, when I told her that I had the television show and that I was active, she said, "Oh, I want you to meet his wife."
Yes.
So she brought her over also.
Absolutely.
But it was a while before I actually got to meet you. But I voted for you in that term.
Well, I appreciate that. I was out there as well, but with a county of this size and with a district of this size, you really have to divide and conquer.
Any idea how many people are in your district?
Absolutely. Have a little over 300,000 people, actually close to 350,000 people in my district.
Wow. And you haven't knocked on all their doors personally?
Haven't knocked on all their doors personally, but yes, Hillsborough County has grown to a population of over 1.4 million people.
Wow.
That leaves about 350,000 in each of the county commission districts. And you know, geographically speaking, we have over 1,000 square miles of landmass here in Hillsborough County. So especially when you look at population, we're larger than many states.
One of the District 4 lieutenants from the police or sheriff's department took me for a ride one day. And it's been a couple of years back. And he was showing me that empty field is going to be houses, that empty field is going to be houses. And all of a sudden, they're not empty fields anymore. They're coming up like mushrooms. Your district has to be the one that's growing the most.
My district is definitely the highest growth district in the county. You know, you look at other quadrants of the county, and they've developed out for the most part. So this is definitely ground zero for growth. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's a great segue into Stacy White and what I represent. And I have to tell you that planning and better growth management is at the top of my agenda.
I think everybody in Sun City Center would agree with that. They're wondering what happened.
Absolutely. I do have to say that, you know, I was not dealt a particularly good hand with respect to some of the growth that we see going on around us, because a lot of what you see sprouting up around Sun City Center was actually zoned back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
so
as I said,
those land entitlements are already there. So,
it's been a long time since that deputy took me out and showed me where it was all going to be built.
Absolutely.
And probably even before you got elected.
Absolutely. A lot of those decisions were made a long, long time ago by previous boards. So really, I have a two-pronged approach. One is to dig ourselves out of this hole that we're already in with a lot of the unchecked growth that we've seen, particularly in South County, and then looking forward to have a keen eye towards better planning and growth management. The good news about my district is that we have a lot of lands that are still outside of the Hillsborough County's urban service area boundaries. So I'm keeping a close eye on those lands. We have an imaginary line drawn around portions of Hillsborough County that we term the urban service area boundary.
Okay.
That is the boundary to which we will offer urban and suburban scale services like water and sewer.
Okay.
Anything outside of that area is considered to be the rural area, and you typically see very low land use entitlements in the rural area. So 1 home per 5 acres, 1 home per 10 acres, 1 home per 20 acres.
Okay.
There's always a strong push by the development community to either expand or just outright eliminate that urban service area so that we can just
Push the water and sewer
suburbanize
out.
all the way to all ends of the county. I've been strong in holding the line on the urban service area, and I think I have a strong vision for how we eventually grow as demand comes about. I'm not anti-growth. Growth is a good thing, but we definitely have to have better planning and better management of our growth looking forward.
I remember going back to the time, I won't mention his last name, but there was a fellow named Ralph here in Hillsborough County who was very strong with the ability to get more money for candidates if they did vote his way, and his way primarily was to take off all of the help that contractors were having to give to the county to build new roads and things of that nature.
Absolutely. You know, that gentleman is what many in the political field would call a power broker. He was definitely a powerful individual, had the ear of a lot of county commissioners. That predates me. That's before my time,
Sure.
of course. But you know,
But
anyone
it goes
who's
back into that,
anyone who's
80s and 70s and 90s time period.
correct. Anyone that's been around Hillsborough County for any length of time would be aware that that he wielded a lot of power and was able to get things done, you know, his way, quite frankly.
Are there the equivalents today? I mean, let's face it, when a person gets elected to office, their first job is to get reelected in most instances. And there are, I'm not asking you to name them, but there are certainly people out there with pockets full of cash that are trying to get you to do not what you want to do, but what is expedient.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. As I mentioned, Hillsborough County has grown in size to 1.4 million people. We have over 1,000 square miles of land mass. It's incredibly difficult to knock on doors and have a pure grassroots effort in a county of this size. So,
It is.
So fundraising for political campaigns is a necessary component of being elected to office here. So the question that you have to ask is a politician bought and paid for by these donors, or is the politician or elected official going to be of an independent mindset? I'm proud to say that I'm a pharmacist. I've been a professional pharmacist in this community for 22 years. That's my profession. That's how I am more than capable of making my living.
And if you have to go back to that, so be it.
Absolutely. I'm not a career politician. Again, fundraising is a necessary component of this arena, but I think I've been loud and clear to special interests out there that I'm not a pay-to-play person and certainly can't be bought and paid for.
Well, I think builders have a lot of money.
They do, and they certainly write checks to campaigns. You know what's been a surprise to me, though, in this process, and a pleasant surprise, quite frankly, is we have a number of people out there that are just simply interested in good government and getting good people elected to office. We do have a number of
I think that's on both
donors.
sides of the table.
It is. So we have a number of donors that are in that donor base, if you will, that'll support your campaign just simply because they think you're a good person and they just want you to get in there and do what you're telling the people that you want them to do. So
I think that's important, that a politician look for the people who support what they're already doing,
that's correct.
not that want them to do things they don't want to do.
Well, that's an interesting dynamic as well, right? Because if you're like me, I pride myself on that. Donors are going to write a check to me because they believe in me as a person, or because I already believe in what they believe in.
Right.
And, but sometimes
And they want
you can
more
have,
of it.
That's right. And sometimes you can have the opposite sort of dynamic where a special interest might fund a political campaign in an effort to change a mindset or a philosophy. And that's where we have to have a keen eye, and as we're studying which elected officials we're going to support and or vote for, that they're not bought and paid for by special interests.
So let's talk about what's happening in South County as
Yes.
far as the construction. I live in South County, so disclosure, it's very close to me and I see what's happening. And there's a lot of things that make little or no sense to me. For instance, 674 is now going to service Sun City Center and what is become known as Greater Wimauma. Not just Wimauma anymore, a sleepy little place that is for migrants, but it's become a homes of $500,000, even $1 million homes
Absolutely.
being built. It's a switch, but all that traffic is either going to come down 674 or go up to Big Bend Road, which is already a mess.
Yes. So
What can we do about that?
I have plenty to talk about in that arena. So I guess I'll start by saying that a number of concerned citizens from Sun City Center have approached me. It really all starts with the Amazon facility and the new trucking traffic that it's introduced to the community. So I've had a number of folks approach me, and a lot of folks have asked about an I-75 interchange at 19th Avenue. Now, unfortunately, the county doesn't have any direct control over that. That would be a Florida Department of Transportation issue. I fought hard to attempt to get an interchange there at 19th Avenue, but the Florida Department of Transportation...
Which would take all the trucks to Amazon.
It would. But the Florida Department of Transportation has this 1 mile rule. They want their interchanges to be at least a mile apart. The 19th Avenue potential interchange would only be 0.9 miles from 674. It's awful close, but it doesn't quite hit that 1 mile threshold. So what I would urge the viewers to do, if there's still a strong interest in that, which I suspect there is.
And it's getting stronger every day.
Absolutely.
When you look at 19th Street and you look at the number of homes that are being built and apartments projects there, I think there's 500 units being built on 19th right now.
Absolutely. There's a lot of pressure there. So I would urge your viewers to contact their state legislator. That's either their state, their Florida House of Representatives member or their Florida senator, and even consider writing a letter to the governor's office in an effort to get the Florida Department of Transportation to take another look at that. So a couple of sort of outgrowths from that conversation is 674. I champion some county funding to the tune of about $1 million.
And that is a state route also.
It's a state route, and the Florida Department of Transportation already had plans to be out this fall resurfacing Sun City Center Boulevard. I championed an effort where the county went ahead and chipped in over $1 million to have the Florida Department of Transportation make some turn lane enhancements while they're out. That's not going to be the be-all, end-all. It's certainly not going to do the same thing as a widening, but the traffic engineers that I worked closely with in that process really feel like it's going to get traffic moving better along that corridor. I'm also proud to say that I've championed the funding of a PD&E study to look at perhaps widening 19th Avenue at some point.
PD&E?
Planning, development, and planning, design, and environmental is what I believe it stands for. A PD&E study is kind of a mainstay for any type of a major roads project, and it's an absolute necessity if you're going to get any state or federal grant funding. So we're going to take a look at 19th with a PD&E study, and I'm also proud to announce that a widening of Big Bend Road from 41 to 301 is nearly fully funded, and that the Department of Transportation has concrete plans to reconfigure the interstate interchanges at Big Bend Road as well. So that's the good news. The bad news is we're looking at about 5 years till completion. That's not till the beginning of the project. That's 5 years to completion. So that's not terrible. Certainly I'd love to see it done a little sooner.
So duck your head on 674 because that's going to make it even worse.
You know, it's hard to say. It really depends on how the engineers and the traffic gurus keep traffic flowing as they're doing that construction. But I tell you, in the end, it's going to make a world of good.
Does anybody from the Department of Highways here in Florida ever look at usage on the road? 674 from about May till September. Usage drops 30% because a lot of our retirees have gone north. And all of a sudden, September, when they're starting the project, everybody's coming back.
Yeah, that's a great observation. FDOT is a state agency. They're a bit.
Well, I guess that's the answer, right?
They're a bit bureaucratic. So yeah, I will stress to your viewers that although I was instrumental in getting some local funding moved to the project to enhance those turn lanes, it is a state project. If it were a county project, I'd be telling county staff, look, we have to do this when the snowbirds are out of town. That's going to make much more sense. Unfortunately, the state doesn't quite have their thumb on the pulse of the community to the level that a local elected official would.
Well, when you look at what's happening outside of Sun City, I mean, we used to be a sleepy little suburb down there, our golf carts zipping back and forth and having a great time. But when you get to 301, they're turning 301 into almost a super highway with 6 lanes, 3 lanes each way.
They are. Remember, I was raised in South County, and I can remember a time that, you know, you could jump on 301. It was a 2-lane road for much of the stretch, and you wouldn't see anything but row crops, ranch land, improved pasture. You know, really, until you started to hit the Brandon area, you fast forward to today, and so much of that farmland and ranch land has been replaced with houses and businesses, and it's just incredible to see the explosive growth that's happened in that area. Again, unfortunately, a lot of those land entitlements predate me as a commissioner. So that's that deck of cards that I've been dealt, that I've referred to. It's been done, the land entitlements are there. So now I'm working diligently to dig ourselves out of the transportation hole that we're in.
And not let it happen again.
And correct, and have my eye on the ball with respect to growth management looking forward.
What can the people do? I guess take their pitchforks and their torches and march on somebody.
Well,
so the best thing, as you point out, is to write to not the Florida Department of Transportation, because they're probably not going to listen, because they're not elected.
So with respect to the idea of an interchange at 19th Avenue, it would be best to write your Florida House member, your Florida Senate member, and perhaps the governor's office. With respect to land use, if you see one of those yellow rezoning signs pop up and the community decides that that's not the best planned growth, you know, engage in the process. And if anyone wants to call my office at, if I can give the number at
Sure.
813-272-5740.
Let's do that again very slowly.
Okay, 813-272-5740.
And we'll put that up on the screen too.
Absolutely. And we're happy, my staff and I are happy to walk citizens through the land use process and being engaged in rezonings and things like that.
Speaking of staff,
Yes.
where you got them, how you got them, I don't know. But both Megan and David down there in his office are 2 of the most conscientious people when it comes to people calling in. My wife, Phyllis Hodges, writes for the Observer News, and on occasion she needs information that government has, and both of them go to work on it, and within 24 hours they have an answer back for her.
They are superstars. As I mentioned earlier, Hillsborough County has over 1.4 million residents. So being a commissioner is a busy job. So each commissioner gets 2 legislative aides. The District 4 office tends to be the busiest office because the only incorporated area that I have in my district is Plant City. So when people call my office, we're not able to say, that's the city's problem, call the city. So it's all on us. So it's a busy office, and Megan and David just do a tremendous job with
Do you have any idea
services.
how many calls you get on an average week? Have you ever looked to see what the phone bill was?
I have, and it can be hundreds in some weeks.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that at all. I wouldn't have
Absolutely.
been surprised to see it go higher than that.
Yeah. I don't know if we've approached the thousands, but believe me, hundreds of calls with various constituent issues will keep you busy. That keeps you hopping. So,
What makes you decide to go out? I know not too long ago you went to the South County Regional Library and just sat across the desk from people. What makes you decide to do that? Do you have a regular schedule of that?
I do have a regular schedule. I try to do that at least quarterly at sites throughout my district. We typically will pick a public site like a county library, although there have been instances where we've partnered with, say, the Sun City Center Community Association.
And the Chamber of
to use their
Commerce.
building, the Chamber as well. So I go out and hold community office hours. They're not town hall meetings. I find it to be more effective to have one-on-one sit-down meetings with constituents. I tell you, we are able to solve a lot of problems in those, and we take some good ideas back to County Center and meeting with constituents.
You know, you bring up town hall meetings, and to be honest with you, it's kind of sad. I see people like yourself who are willing to go out and talk with people, and the people have no sense of decorum. Angry, shouting, trying to shout the person down rather than listening. It's a wonder to me that any politician decides to go out and actually meet with the people.
Well, it is unfortunate that town hall meetings have become platforms for certain constituencies to go out and attempt to use that as a jumping off point for some type of a message. That's why I prefer the one-on-one community office hours with constituents, because when I go out at least quarterly into the community, I'm there to solve problems and help citizens with concerns and to take good ideas back to the office. And again, I find that it's more effective, at least for me anyway, to do it in the one-on-one format.
We found it interesting because Phyllis was writing an article on local politics, and we actually sat and talked to some of the people that were waiting to talk to you. And it was very interesting. Each one of them had their own little thing that they wanted to talk to you about. And all of them were polite, and they were very nice about it.
And we have a wide array of issues that come up during these office hours. So on that particular day in Sun City, we had stormwater issues. Those are very common over the summer. Oftentimes it's just something as simple as a ditch that needs to be cleared out, and that can range from easy to where it's clearly a county easement and we just get county staff out to clear the ditch and get the water flowing. Sometimes it's more complicated because maybe it's a ditch that's plugged up on private property. We can oftentimes still solve those problems. We have to sometimes get permission from a property owner to enter their property, or sometimes if it's a community stormwater pond, we have to get signatures from folks that live around the pond and get in there and get the water flowing properly. But we are oftentimes able to solve those problems. There seems to be a wild hog problem in South County right now. I think that's because a lot of the development that you're seeing, they're being driven out of other areas and concentrating in new areas.
There's a wild hog program going on all over the state.
Absolutely.
I just talked recently with the people down at the big park, south of here, down.
The state park?
Yeah,
South
the big
of Sun
one.
Cities?
No, the big one down.
The Mayaca City?
Mayaca.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I talked to them, and they said they're taking 600 to 700 hogs a month out of there.
That doesn't surprise me.
Trappers are coming in to get them.
Yeah, hogs, they're not native animals. They are an invasive species, and they have litters of young, like a dog.
Yeah.
And, they'll have 6 or 8 or more
Regularly.
piglets, and it's very difficult to keep their population numbers in check.
Let me ask you this, and I think I asked you the first time, and I asked you the middle. Now, after 4 years in this office, is it what you thought it would be, or are there some things that are different than what you thought?
Well, I had the opportunity to serve on the Hillsborough County School Board before I became a commissioner. I was a school board member
my
from 2010
condolences.
to 2014. That's a pretty tough job as well. So
That's an awful job.
I think that prepared me for the county commission and gave me an understanding of what to expect. But I'll just say in general terms, the first time being an elected official, back when I joined the school board, it was definitely an eye-opening experience. You learn a lot about the process, the various constituencies out there, what it's like to work with the governmental staff that works for the board, and the list goes on and on and on. So
We've got about 2 minutes, and I promise you an opportunity to talk directly to our listeners about how you feel about your office and what you hope to see in the future.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Stacy White. I'm the county commissioner that represents District 4. I have been all about common sense local government issues. I'm strong on planning and growth management, solving our transportation problems. I've supported our environmental lands program strongly, passive use parkland. To me, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, any other political party. I'm here to serve you. If you have a pothole in front of your house, it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. So if I can ever be of assistance, my number is 813-272-5740.
And you'll talk with either Megan or David when they answer that phone.
Absolutely.
And pretty quick, you'll become friends with them because they're that kind of people.
Absolutely.
They're as nice as they can be.
Yes, sir.
I'm delighted that you came. I'm assuming that one day you'll come back. Can we make it more than 2 years? Can I get you to commit to come back once a year?
At least yearly. At least yearly.
That'd be nice to have you back,
Yes.
because I think there's a lot of questions that a lot of people have of their elected officials. And so many times an elected official will go on a show and it'll turn into a shouting match.
Yes.
Or why didn't you, or how could you? And nobody gets to talk.
Yeah.
6 people are trying to talk at the same time. But here, you always get a chance to tell us exactly what you're thinking and what you'd like to do.
Absolutely.
Well, I thank you so much for being with us. You're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often because you are, you know. And Commissioner Stacy White, I'm so pleased to have you on the program.
Thank you.
And I hope, again, I'm going to hold you to that. You'll be back within a year.
I will.
We'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government.